All right. I've mentioned Syndrome de Paris before. I don't know if you've heard this or not, but I think it was Stendhal coined the phrase in the 19th century, Florence syndrome. And that means, after you've been to Florence, Italy, you go back to where you come from, and, life is just no good for you anymore. And this definitely happened to me in 1981 because my first visit to the European continent was to be a student in Florence, Italy. And once I got back to New York, I was just never happy with the United States again, and I started plotting and planning to get back to live and work permanently in Europe. Now, this thing, Syndrome de Paris, is a recognized medical condition in Japan, and maybe some other places, I don't know. There are lots and lots of Japanese tourists to Paris, and Paris doesn't turn out for them the way they think it should. It's a little bit different from Syndrome de Paris, Firenze, of Florence, Italy, in that, they're just kind of disappointed by the reality of it here. A lot of people think that Paris is like some Hollywood movie or something, and there are a lot of really beautiful things here, but, Paris is a harder city than New York. They say if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere, but I have found Paris to be a much greater challenge. Now let's see if I can quickly run through this with you. Paris syndrome has once again struck the Japanese this summer. This summer, one counts at least 20 cases of Paris syndrome, a sickness which particularly seems to strike the Japanese, who come about 1 million of them every year to do tourism in France. At least 6 have been repatriated on an emergency basis to Japan to be rapidly rehydrated and to rest, according to an article in The Atlantic. This strange sickness manifests itself by physical symptoms and psychological symptoms, hallucinations, intense heat, a bit of craziness, folie, craziness, and a feeling of persecution. It can very heavily affect people who go to Paris for the first time in their life. There is too big of a difference between reality and what they had hoped that Paris would be. The city of light, the most beautiful city in the world and all that, There's a really cool video clip up of Alain Souchon called "C'est Deja Ça," and I try to recommend this to everybody. It came out around 1994. Great song, great artist, great video, black and white video. It is so real. I recognize a lot of the streets. I'll put something in the annotations or the low bar so you can see that. Wonderful, wonderful video. Very, very, it really touches me. I'm not African, I'm not black African, but I can really, really relate to that video as an immigrant here. And before I was an immigrant, I was a visitor here. All right. The vision given of Paris is effectively completely idealized in ads and films. For foreigners, Paris seems to be like an ad for Chanel No. 5, where the city of lovers, such as Amélie Poulain. I hope you saw that movie, Amélie, The Fabulous Destiny of Amélie Poulain. It's a cool movie. Of course, it's impossible to imagine a waitress living in a gorgeous apartment in Montmartre on that minimum wage pay. But anyway, it's a very good movie. It's very romantic. Very disturbing also. Or even yet, the pittoresque Paris, photographed in black and white by Duano, with women who hold a fan, and men in mustaches who wear monocles. And the Japanese are the first victims of this, it's like culture shock, reality shock, because they perhaps have the most narrow and sublime image of Paris through their media in Japan, which just deals with Parisian cafes, the Eiffel Tower, and Louis Vuitton products, and this has nothing to do with social problems here, the dirtiness, pickpockets, unfairness, attacks, the indifference of Parisians with regard to tourists. They forget that just as in any other city, you'll find fast food things here, McDonald's, KFC, Subway, they're all over the place. I mean, this is, I think if all of the cities have their advantages and their inconveniences, Paris is particularly idealized by the media. Rather different from New York, by example, which tends to throw in a lot of grittiness and negative connotations. According to an article on BBC News in 2006, they have noted about 12 cases of Paris syndrome per year, which is one of the principal causes. One of the principal causes of which is the lack of politeness and the vulgarity of the French, in comparison with the Japanese, who are known for their being quite refined and clean and everything, and polite. They're just not used to it. So I hope you liked this, and let's see. This is from Slate.fr, and this just popped up on my Yahoo France page. Yeah, very interesting. Paris syndrome. I've been telling people about this. I do consulting work, and I do help. Well, I help people to do everything which I can legally and reasonably help them to do. And one of them is relocation, immigrating here, getting a job here, having a nice vacation here, a sabbatical here, finding a business contact here, all sorts of things. I'm even a professional psychic and have been since '83. Anything legal, it's all declared. I'm closely watched here, I assure you. But I keep meeting again and again these people who say, oh, I just want to be in Paris. I just want to be in Paris. And I'm like, are you nuts? Look at my videos. Look at my neighborhood right outside of Paris. Look at my videos inside of Paris. Yes, of course, I try to put up a lot of nice videos of Paris when I genuinely find something interesting and fun and pretty to see and do, especially when it is free or costs very little or is of very good quality. Of course I do that. I boost the city tremendously. I love Paris. I love France, my new home. But, I've had people go nuts on me over here who've stayed with me. They have gone nuts. I mean, one was actually institutionalized, and several just ran off, and yeah, it could have been me, but in fact, the one who was institutionalized was in another city and going to school and had some other issues going on. But, I've had people come here, leave early, not just my home, but actually France. Paris just freaked them out. So think about it, people. And remember, France is a big country and Paris is not, the whole deal. But if you think that everybody skips around here like it is some frigging Gene Kelly movie with Piaf singing in the background, well then you should read up on Piaf. Charles Aznavour has a very good book out about her called Aznavour by Aznavour. It's in English. I really recommend it. She was a monster, and she was not from Paris. She was not from Belleville. Okay, that was all PR. That's like saying Omar Sharif is from Egypt or something. He's Parisian. He lives near here, in Enghien-Les-Bains, I think. You know, typical Parisian guy, really. You know, they just thought, well, he looks like an Arab type. You know, a lot of them do here. A lot of them are. But you know, it's just all spin. It's PR. You know, don't believe and imagine everything you see and hear. And when I tell people that they have to have between $100,000 to $300,000 to even consider coming to live here, and they probably have to wait about 6 years to get benefits, they just don't want to hear it. All right, have a good day.